What's up, YouTube? It's Vincent here, and I've been thinking, first of all, before I start, me and my brother did a review together of a Bolt Thrower album. And if you guys are interested, it actually has more views than my previous two videos, but it doesn't have any comments yet, or likes, or anything like that, and I was kind of hoping to get feedback on it. So if you guys can, I'll link it in the D-Box, and you guys can go check it out. I had a lot of fun doing it. I think I cut my brother off a little too much, but it was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing it, and I hope you guys have a good time watching it. So I was thinking, there are a lot of reviewers that made me want to review albums, you know, Soul About Music, The Needle Drop, The Recreation, even new reviewers like Maiden Slave, which, by the way, subscribe to Maiden Slave, his videos are sweet. But, amongst all of these, one of them, Coverkillernation. And Coverkillernation is the person who kind of gets the metal side out of me, because Coverkillernation does mostly metal reviews. He does other stuff, but for the most part, he's a metal man, you know, he is like the quintessential metalhead on YouTube. And, Coverkillernation, I wanted to take this time to kind of, show my appreciation by reviewing an album by a band that me and you are both fond of, Death. Yeah, if you're a death metal fan, you already know who Death are. I don't gotta go into much detail, but if you don't know who Death are, I'll do a quick little introduction. Death were one of the, if not, many people consider them to be the pioneers of death metal. Most notably, the late Chuck Schuldiner. Rest in peace, he died of brain cancer, I believe, in 2002? I believe it was early 2000s, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, everything that Chuck did helped move along death metal, and death metal wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Chuck and his band. So, today, Coverkiller, I'm going to talk about spiritual healing. Now, Coverkillernation did a Death discography, which I enjoyed a lot, and, yeah, so if you haven't watched that, check it out. I think the reason I want to do review this album is because it's kind of like the black sheep of the Death discography, which is weird because I think it's sort of like the number of the beast of Death. Now, not because it's their most popular album, like Maiden's Number of the Beast is, but because I always thought that Number of the Beast, it was like, it wasn't yet to Peace of Mind, to that really classic sound, but it wasn't that close to Killers and, you know, the Paul Di'Anno era either. This being, you know, spiritual healing is kind of like the transition between the really kind of gory, straight up death metal album, Scream Bloody Gore, Leprosy, and then to the more progressive works like Human and, you know, Sound of Perseverance, which comes way later. So, the production on this record is way better than the last two. The last two records had a lot of reverb on them, had a lot of kind of low end and thickness to them, but Spiritual Healing sounds like a much more crisp and clean death record. The vocals are a lot more thin, but in the good way. Like I say, very crisp, clean, and streamlined. They're not as meshed together as they were on Leprosy and Scream Bloody Gore. The drums are a lot different. I always thought the drums on Leprosy were kind of ridiculous. Like, whenever he would hit the snare, you'd hear like a and it was this really open, like, almost kind of hollow drum sound, which I felt did kind of help the sound of that album and the kind of sound it was going for. But because this album is so much more crisp and clean, the drum sound has a lot more pop to it, and I like that a lot. The guitars are just as heavy as they were, maybe a little bit less, but the thing that really gets me about the production, and just Chuck's vocals in general, are the fact that they are monstrous, but you can hear everything he says. I love that about Death. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who, if I can't understand what a band's saying, I just don't listen to them, because that's not true. I listen to early Cannibal Corpse, I listen to, just bands that it just kind of sounds like this one, like, belting out of vocals, and you can't really hear that much of what the vocalist is saying. But Death, you always know what Chuck is saying, and that's good because of the lyrics on this particular release. The lyrics on this album are far better than the last two albums. In fact, I love them, and they're what makes the album, I think, what it is for me. First of all, the album talks about, in the title track and the album cover, corrupt religion, which, believe it or not, this is an album that came into my life just at the right time, because I'm thinking about religion a lot, and kind of piecing together what I believe, what I don't believe, and I can really relate right now to that song in particular, because it's kind of speaking to me at this point. You get songs like Living Monstrosity, which are about women who use drugs in the process of pregnancy and basically fuck up their babies, birth defects, things like that. Genetic reconstruction, about cloning, and it's just this really political, social ideal, kind of social ideology, themed album. And to me, it's almost like a concept album. To me, although it's not an official concept album, to me it definitely has that feel to it, and it helps the album a lot. So, the flow is also really good. You get slower numbers, faster numbers, One problem I do have is the bass. You really can't hear it that much. I hated the production on Scream Bloody Gore. I thought it's way too overpowering. It's a very loud, which, you want your metal loud, but when there was a solo or something, it was so ear-piercingly noisy that I felt it got way too, sharp. And a lot of the time, it was just this big wall of noise that didn't sound very good. Although I still really enjoy that album and, the remaster and, stuff like that. But the thing I loved about it is you can always hear the bass. Unfortunately, Spiritual Healing, you can't hear the bass that much. And, my neck hurts. It's not that big of a problem, but, I would have liked to hear the bass more. But again, like I said, the album is a lot less thick sounding than Leprosy or, Scream Bloody Gore, so it's alright. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that this album gets as much flack as it does. It's not that anyone hates it, it's just that it's not as popular as, say, Leprosy or Human, which are the two albums that are it's sandwiched in between. And so far, this is my favorite Death album I've listened to. It's just fantastic. The lyrics, vocals, production, flow, everything about this album is really, really good. And I think I feel like I like albums that are different than what a band has done previously. Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, albums like that are different from what the band has done because it makes it unique. And if there's anything that I would use to describe Spiritual Healing, it would be unique. So, I'm going to give it a 9.5. I love this record. It's phenomenal. It's fucking great. Coverkillernation, you're awesome. I'm glad I could do this to kind of look at this as an act of appreciation, if that's a phrase. And Coverkillernation, if you want to give feedback, I would enjoy it. Tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like, tell me what I can do to improve my videos, and take a look at my other videos, and tell me what you think. Thank you very much for watching. I love your videos. Thank you everybody else for watching. See you guys next time. Pick up the album, it's fantastic.